Welcome, friends. Hope you guys are well. Hope you guys had a good trading week in spite of all the theatrics of the down move. I will just wait for Instagram to tap us in to send you guys out the notification that we're here. Hope to see you guys on, as today I'm expecting that we have a great conversation. We will have our friend TC the chartist with us, and I'm sure that he is going to talk through a number of charts. So let's just wait a moment. Tell me where you guys are tapping in from. Hope you guys are well. Let me know if you guys were trading anything last week, if you caught the down move in the week. Instagram is okay. Let's see if we can get Instagram going here. It's always exciting with Instagram. They always like to take a couple seconds to tap us all in. Hello, hello. So this week we also have a lot of news. We have CPI, we have PPI, we have bond auctions. So we also have a lot going on by way of, that craziness. And I see my co-host here. Let's get him tapped. All right, and let me know if you guys can hear me, because sometimes the sound doesn't tap in, and then we will get going. Come on, Instagram, don't be funny with us. Let me see. I'll try it a different way. All right. Instagram always likes to be a little bit tricky when it's adding people. Not sure why it does that, but let's see. It'll let me tap you in. So let us know if you guys were trading last week, if you caught the down move, what you guys are most interested in buying at these new lows. If you're interested in buying, is this the bottom for you? Is this a good buying situation? Oh, it's not, Instagram's not letting us all tap in. We'll keep trying. Instagram likes to be extra sometimes with adding the guests. So we will see. Yeah, this week was interesting. I was hoping to see bond yields contract a bit more than they actually did. We did see, hello, sir. How are you?
Suzanne,
How you doing, sir?
I am finna hold on. Let me turn this volume up so you can get my good side today. Nah, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Congratulations.
On what?
Well, for the viewers, they might not know that you recently had a child. So, well, recently now it's been some months,
Yeah.
but for us it is new since the last time we saw you. So, congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was doing my thing. I was doing a couple grown up things, and then when you do grown up things, so,
You get
no, it's
you
all
get
good.
responsibilities.
Man, hey, whoo, man. If somebody would tell me about getting my time back, man, it has been a struggle, but it's all right.
Do you sleep yet at night? That's the big
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, so I mean, actually, oddly enough, sleep hasn't been an issue because Noah, was sleeping on me for like the first 3, 4 months, and then once we transitioned him to sleeping in his bassinet and then his crib, it wasn't that bad, but sleep was all right. So I really didn't have that issue. But it's getting him to go to sleep to self soothe. That's been like, bruh, if you sleepy, go to sleep. Like, why you sitting here just crying because you sleep? Just go to sleep. I don't understand the human makeup. That's the most oddest thing to me. It's like if you sleepy, just go to
And
sleep. But he want to just
okay,
fight and fuss.
it's I'm sure okay, not everybody loves to take baths, so this won't work for people who aren't bath people. But for people who like to take baths, it is so soothing that there's like almost nothing in comparison to it. And I just imagine you spend 9 months like in this warm bath, and
Yep.
then suddenly,
you're like, what is this? This is
Yep.
horrible. I want
Yep.
back inside.
Yep.
So I can feel for those babies, but yes, the transition is hard. With my daughter, we we kept her from the very beginning in the bassinet.
Yeah.
That's what the midwife kind of, she kept
Mm-hmm.
reinforcing. But my son was so huge when he was born I couldn't hold him to feed him. So I always had to lay down because he was born the size of my daughter when she was 3 months old. He was huge. He was massive. People
Mm-hmm.
couldn't believe he was a newborn.
That's
So
what's up.
he got used to the snuggling factor of let's go to sleep. And that probably
Mm-hmm.
made him a little bit less inclined to sleep alone. My daughter was easygoing, but my son, mm-mm. Until
Okay.
now, he's 5 and he still asks, "Can I sleep with
Right.
you?" I'm like, "You're
I,
5 now. Get in your bed.
right.
I'm
I don't
tired."
understand. I don't understand that part. But outside of it though, it's all right.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So this week, I saw that you and your group had some amazing runs. You guys picked some great trades. Funny enough, we were also in very similar trades, so that was nice to see. I love it when people with different trading styles still see the same setups
Mm-hmm.
because it means that, th- people have this philosophy that only one style of anything works. And I tell people that's not the fact, that,
No.
patterns exist and finding what pattern works for you and like what you can see on the chart, that's what you need to find.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the fact that even though we're trading slightly differently, that, you picked up on very similar trades that we did.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell us all about your trading week, sir.
No, it was good. So 1 week ago, which was last Sunday, in the weekly outlook, I was actually I can't recall. I don't know if it was some ASA members on here. Is some ASA people in here? I see P Rizzle,
Hmm.
what's up, lady? Lawrence, what's up, brother? Anybody else from ASA in here?
Yeah.
Or if y'all know who I am. Cool. So we was I think the price level I had for SPY was 575, 573. I don't know. Wherever that supply zone was that took out liquidity, that's where I was like, hey, I think we can reverse from here. Now I didn't think we would get to 540. 540 when that was on my chart, 544.88. That's where I was like, yo, I think we can get a bounce from there, but can we cuss on live? I don't know. I don't want to be disrespectful. Anyway, but but
You do
price
you,
completely.
sir.
No, I mean, everybody grown, but it's Sunday, and I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But nah, I was looking at 545 for an actual bounce, but price said And then when I looked at the chart again, me and one of the community members was talking about well, she trades SPX, and I was looking at 500, and I think right now we're sitting at like 505 or something like that. So some people was talking about swinging puts over the weekend. I'm not a swing trader. I'm just an intraday trader. But we were looking at the bearish movement. But again, in all transparency, I was looking for a bounce around 544. That didn't happen. But I still traded to the downside. I mean, you have to pivot. Even though I traded to the upside twice up until I think Wednesday or whatever the case it was, you still have to pivot.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the biggest things as traders. You have to be comfortable and do that in real time. It's easy to back test and say, okay, let me pause and think about it, right? But when the market is going, you have to make decisions, and your money is on the line. So you have to be willing to pivot. But all in all, last Sunday I was looking at the rejection around 573, 575, whatever the case may be. And then if that cycle continued, then the 4 hour structural low, since SPY did give us that bearish market structure shift to the downside on the 4 hour time frame, that lower low was going to be put in. So if we was going to get that lower high again, I was looking for the bounce around 544.88,
Hmm.
but price said hell no. So it's all good.
Yeah, it was, because so usually when we're in the group, I'm like, I don't want to short from the bottom of a range, and I don't want to go long from the top of a range. You just don't have any advantage play like, if you're moving around, you want to catch that kind of rounding top or rounding bottom, catch something that gives you that really nice risk reward because you have the range to play, and then you can continue to see
Hmm.
if the move is going to carry on and move up your stop loss or vice versa.
Yep.
But we were just like bottom and moving to the
Right.
bottom and moving to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was funny because on Friday morning, I was like, I see us, we could potentially get down to that like 5,100 area on SPX. But I was like, I just can't imagine us doing it today. And then one of the members was like, well, why don't you just set up a trade and then whoever wants to take it can take
Mm-hmm.
it. And so I did. I put on this really low risk strategy that we could use to catch the move down. And I mean, I think that hit like 450% end of day.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually had three downside positions, and all of them hit some really massive returns. And they were all hedge positions, so we weren't really expecting them to do like
Mm-hmm.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of percent.
Yep.
But thankfully, we had them on because at the end of the week, I mean, even looking at, how down my overall shares were with all the other short-term gains, I was like, actually, like I'll sleep well this weekend. Had I not had any of those downside positions on, I might have left Friday feeling like, what has the
Yep.
market just done to me here?
Right. Yep.
So,
No, it's all good. I mean, it is what it is. But the biggest thing, in this game is not to have it. Well, I don't want to say not to have any fear, but you know how it is. You have to build to the point where emotion is the last thing that's stopping you from being profitable.
mhm.
And so Friday, when shout out to him. I don't even know if he's on here, but Jay Powell, one of the best traders that I know. He was analyzing price and on a 5 minute perspective, and he outlined price to go down to the structural low. And then from that point forward, once we got off live trading, we was just looking at the charts and people was talking, and some people were still in their positions and targeting. People trade different things, MEQ, MES, SPY, all that good stuff, right? But as people in ASA know, it's a bunch of steppers and it's a bunch of people that fix their own plate, and they know how to get to it. So I just want to say, for those of you that's on here, I'm definitely proud of you, and thank you for allowing me to help you on your journey. So yeah, shout out to y'all, and shout out to everybody else that's on this live. People that's part of Suzanne's crew, and if you just tapping in because it's 4 o'clock on a Sunday and you driving home from getting a bucket of chicken, it's all good.
I love your sense of humor. You really make me laugh. Yeah. So if you're in the chat and you were trading, let us know how your trading went, how the week went for you. Was it profitable? You know, um, so the big question I think a lot of people are asking themselves is this now a buy the dip situation? Have we dropped enough now that we're in this correction territory?
Hmm.
Is this enough to give us some kind of bear market rally,
Yeah.
or is this enough or are we going to keep pressing to the downside? I want to get your thoughts first.
So for me, and again, I'm more intraday trader, but I do look at the higher time frames because they help so many people. An extreme perspective, and again, this is coming from somebody that looks at SPY. I mean, I don't SPY and futures. I don't look at SPX or the actual indexes.
Hmm.
But I saw a case for SPY going down to 540, 550, 540. No, hold on. What the hell? Hold on, Suzanne. 450. It was 450 or four something like that. I think it was on a weekly time frame. But I do like the level that we're in now from a daily perspective. I know you know a little bit about liquidity and inducement and all that type of stuff, but when you really expand out and you look at the bigger time frame, there's a lot of imbalances, a lot of liquidity, and all that good jazz. So for me, um, I would need to see some type of structure be formed back to the upside first,
Hmm.
a valid piece of
Hmm.
structure, not just price making a lower high and then people getting excited and saying, "Oh my God, I think it's over with." No, I need to see an actual valid market structure shift based on my rules and my parameters. But I am using this opportunity to buy into more positions. AMD, Nvidia, stuff like that. We was talking about AMD at those levels between 105 and 100, Nvidia around 100 to 105. And then also we had an extreme case as well that I was telling people like, yo, I also see a case for AMD to come between 90 and $80. So like for me, don't put all of your money in at one time.
Hmm.
But I do think that this is a good opportunity. If you don't have a position in some of these stocks that you've been looking at, just start off small. And for me, I'm a pure technical person. If anybody asks you when it comes to fundamentals and politics, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna divert them to you. I'm gonna divert them to Deputy, who is marvelous. And shout out to Deputy. I don't know, you don't know who I'm talking about, but
No,
Deputy
she's your
is
equity
yeah.
charter.
Man,
Yeah.
hey, man, Deputy is awesome. Man, Deputy is a blessing from God himself. Like he just said, TC, here you go. But she's been away for 2 months, and today she comes back. Suzanne, when I tell you I am so thrilled, I can do the Tootsie Roll and the butterfly. I don't know if you know what them dances are.
Yeah.
They
I am old enough to know what those are, sir. Those were
so
in
yeah,
all of our
man.
at our
Yeah.
prom and our.
Oh, and the biggest thing, family, while I'm thinking about this, ASA, we're gonna have a conversation about this. On social media, on Facebook, I still call it Facebook. If you call it Meta, call it Meta. Please inform your family and friends on what's going on. Because I literally seen people say they're taking money out of my 401k or they don't know what's going on. They want to pull out, and it's just like, hold on, wait a minute. I don't I don't think we realize the amount of people that's around us that's not knowledgeable in the financial markets
Mhm.
or financial literacy. So if you're on this live and you understand just an ounce of what we're talking about, please inform your family or friends or people that maybe look good because it's Sunday at 4:17. Just tell them like, yo, don't touch that money. If anything, you want to invest more and get some education because it's people that's like 35 years old talking about pulling out of their 401. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. But I had to sit back and realize everybody's not knowledgeable
Mhm.
in this space. So
Yeah.
please, if you're on this live, save somebody.
Mhm.
And this is not financial advice. I ain't no financial advisor. I'm only 5'7". So
My big thing is that my sister's 6 years younger than me. So, she's in her 30s and, she was really stressed out about this pullback. And
Suzanne,
I was
you
like,
you you look like you about 21, girl. I don't know what you're talking about, but you like you about 21.
thank you. No, I'm 43. I'm
Hell no,
43.
you ain't no 43. You
I am
21.
seasoned. No, I really am. And but I kept telling her, I was like, Veronica, you don't have to be so stressed out because you are
Hmm.
so young. You
Yep.
still have 30 more years to work.
Right.
Now, if you were like in your 60s or
Oh
your
yeah.
late 50s and you were feeling really concerned about this situation, then I would say, okay, let's not,
Right.
mess around and find out what's going to happen next. Be a bit more cautious or move to
Hmm.
areas that are more conservative. But I was like, now you should just be considering how to increase your exposure
Yeah.
because now your dollar is going to go a lot further than it did
Hmm.
3, 4 months ago. I was like,
Yep.
right now you have some great stocks that are down 50%. You might
Hmm.
not get another opportunity like that. Now, that being said, I don't think that this is the end of this.
Oh yeah, I know.
Um,
I know.
and
Uh-huh.
so there are two things that I say often on the live is first of all, don't scale in too quickly.
Hmm.
So, I told people like for me personally, I like, when it's 10%, I'm getting in. When it drops to 20%, I'm getting in. And when it drops to 30%, I'm really getting in. Having that distance in your purchasing price makes the power of your dollar go a lot further.
Right.
I know there's another gentleman that's in our group that is a financial advisor. I am not a financial advisor, but he tells people use the 213. So at the like 10%, get whatever, if you have $10,
Hmm.
get like $2, $3 at price point one,
Hmm.
get $1 or $2 at price point two, and then at the third price point, whatever that may be on your chart
Hmm.
or whatever you're looking at, then get, $3 or $4 worth. And the reason you want to do that is because you don't want to, if you don't ever get a correction, because moving to correction just happens so
Hmm.
rarely that, you don't want to be like waiting all the way there to get in, but you don't want to be like blowing all your dry powder
Right.
at price point one, watching it go all the
Yep.
way down to price point three and
Yep.
even lower. So just being organized about how you're going to deploy your cash will also give you a lot more certainty and clarity about what you're doing, why you're doing it, where price could go. But you're right, people have to, I tell people everybody should learn to chart, even if they will never trade a day in their life. just
Mm-hmm.
so that in events like this, they can go to a chart, look at it, and then look at their 401k. What are your money managers investing you in? Do you
Right.
like it? Do you not like it? What's your, and then you have something to talk against. But you can't call up your financial advisor and be like, I'm scared. And that doesn't mean anything because
Mm-hmm.
maybe they had you 100% in Johnson and Johnson and
Right.
you just made 100% return the last 3 months. So,
Yep. Yep. It's all good. Shout out to everybody else that's in ASA. I see some of y'all in here, so I definitely
yes.
appreciate y'all for tapping in and
I,
being
I love
awesome.
your folks. They always come and show out for you, sir. It
And I
shows
appreciate it.
that is the number one sign of confidence in your work. Because when you're trading with people every single day, they know this works or this
Oh,
doesn't work. The fact that
man.
they all show up for
Yeah.
you demonstrates like their confidence.
I appreciate
Um,
it. It's number love. I mean, it's again, it's everybody know my motto. It's it to me. This is bigger than trading. Yes, I'm gonna teach you how to trade. I'm gonna teach you how to get to the money. I'm gonna teach you all of what you got to do, right? But at the end of the day, it's still up to you. But in order to be a successful trader, you have to work on yourself outside the markets. You have to be disciplined. You got to be focused. You have to really be honest with yourself about those bad habits. And a lot of us come into trading with bad habits, and like stuff that we didn't know, which is bad.
mhm.
But I tell people all the time, like really look in the mirror, be honest with yourself, and make those necessary adjustments. Sorry, I just read a message that kind of threw me off. Um, and everything's gonna be fine because when you're learning how to trade, you think the technical perspective or whatever strategy that you're learning or strategies, because a lot of us just bounce from here to there, so all that type of place. But once you settle down and you focus and you define what your edge is, work on that and collect data. And then once you have enough data to let you know if this is working or not, okay, then seek, like, in that process, get help. I tell people all the time, like, do not struggle in silence. Please don't struggle in silence. I hop on Zooms all the time, just to help people. We give feedback on their markups and all type of stuff. And then also, be disciplined. Like, you can't just New York session open and you would just turn on the discipline button. No, it don't work like that. You
Mhm.
you have to be disciplined outside of trading in order for it to spill into trading. So when you're faced with decisions in the market, you got that what's the tough animal? You got the rhino skin.
Mhm.
You got the hippo ass.
Well, you can't see me in real life, but
So, but I
yeah.
just love to give back and I love to help people. And shout out to Jay Powell. So Jay Powell's my brother from another mother. Like I said, he was the person that was live trading for us on Friday. He did a phenomenal job and he outlined a move to the downside. So I was actually supposed to make a story about him because he was the reason why um, I was able to see Price so clear because he was leading everybody and saying, "Hey, you want to see your sweep, you want to see your inducement." Now, granted, some of them order blocks was a little bit big on Friday, but still, the brother did his thing. So since he's on here, I want to give him a major shout out. So, yeah,
Yeah, he's
I did
always
say hippo ass. I'm sorry. My bad, Suzanne. You said what?
no, Jay Powell's always when I see it when he's popping up on Instagram, he's always giving great feedback, great thoughts. So
Oh yeah,
shout out to all the people in ASA. You guys are doing great things over there. I'm always like anytime you pop up on my Instagram, I end up with like a flood of amazing messages from your members. So
yeah.
it's great.
That's what's up. I
So
appreciate y'all. I appreciate you, Suzanne. I don't know why I thought you was in Canada, but you in Germany, girl. You in Germany. You overseas, over the ocean.
yes, sir. Yeah, so actually my husband and I met, I was living in Cyprus, so one of the Greek islands. Well, technically it's its own country, but it was formerly part of Greece. And then he decided that he wanted to go back and finish his engineering degree. So we ended
Mm-hmm.
up in Germany. And then so I've been here ever since, but may not be here for much longer. We may be moving to Montenegro, which is just south of Croatia. So
All right,
anybody that wants to ruck up in the Balkans, we're right next door to Italy, right across the seas. You can come
that's what's
visit
up.
us.
I like Italy.
So
Italy, nice.
yeah, It
Yep.
is, but I think Montenegro is nicer. So come visit.
I
But
got you. We plan on coming back to Europe. Not this year, but next year once Noah gets a little bit bigger. So if we out close, I will definitely hit you up.
yep, it will be nice to see y'all. So yeah, I mean, is there a sector that you are actually liking right now that you're thinking, okay, either this has been, outperformed in spite of everything that's going on, so I like it, or it's just done so poorly that at this point we might see some buying opportunities in the coming weeks. Does anything tickle your fancy?
She's I'm sorry, that was funny. Now, to be honest with you, I haven't gone through the sectors. I actually use, and I got to give him credit for this. We have a member, ASAP Jack. He is a CMT. He is a dope, super dope person. But he showed me how to use relative strength
Mhm,
versus like whatever sector, whatever that I'm looking for.
mhm,
But I haven't gone through and looked at different sectors and sector rotations and stuff like that. To be honest with you. I've been more so really for me, I've been in my bag the past 3 months from an education perspective. I haven't focused on anything outside of futures or SPY or MEQ. I do analysis on different tickers, not for me, but for the community. But
mhm.
I don't go and look at different sectors to be honest with you. Well, not now because I've been more so focused on inducement and time and liquidity and stuff like that. So I really can't give you an answer about a sector rotation because I ain't finna sit up here and lie.
No, I like that. So this pullback, from your point of view, just looking at the charts,
Mhm.
do you think that this pullback was, or this correction, I should say,
Yeah.
was already kind of baked in the charts from the way you analyze the chart,
Oh
or
yeah.
do you
Yeah.
think this was news related?
So full transparency, I don't. I guess I'll tell you, I don't believe in news per se. I think news is a catalyst to bring volume into the market. So ever since November 5th, when we had election or whatever,
Mhm,
if you look at the chart, the way that we kept building to the upside, kept building to the upside, you took a lot of buy side and then you kept making imbalances and it was just a crazy amount of volume that was in the market. And once we finally consolidated around 605, 609 or whatever the case may be, and we swept those highs, I said, I don't know when. I have no idea when. Don't quote me on it. I don't know when. But whenever we drop, it's gonna be a nasty drop because we just left so much unhealthy price action. I was actually on the Zoom with some community members yesterday. We was talking about the exact same thing. And one of them was like, I'm the same way with you, TC. Like I don't know, I didn't know what the catalyst was gonna be, but it come out to be tariffs or whatever,
mhm,
right? But to me it was already baked into the charts, like the same thing with Tesla came down to 218, 216, 222, whatever their price was, and I said, yeah, this sucker is about to, I think the first level was 253. I said
mhm,
when Tesla get to 218, 220, whatever the case may be, that is a perfect place to get a bounce. And when Tesla went from 218 or whatever their price was
mhm,
to down to 300, and then now I think it's back at like 240 something or
mhm,
whatever. But again, I'm all about charting because um I think about it like this. For people that's really into charts, if you really are into charts, right? Think about when you're back testing. And for those of you that's on this live and you don't know what back testing is, I use TradingView. So if you're going through bar replay and you're going through the candles and blah blah blah, multiple time frames, not to get into the all that stuff. But anyway, when you're back testing and you're looking at data from a candlestick perspective, 9 times out of 10, you're not thinking about news when you're looking at candlesticks. You're thinking about whatever strategy that you use. If it's a
mhm,
9 moving average, if it's market structure, if it's supply and demand, if it's inducement, shout out to inducement. If it's liquidity concept, whatever the case may be,
mhm,
when you're looking at charts, you're not thinking about, oh my God, CPI finna come out or oh my God, PCE finna come out. You're just looking at data. So when it comes to the live markets, I just personally think that news is a catalyst to bring in volume to get price to where it's trying to go. But I can have a whole TED talk about that stuff because I literally was telling somebody in the community I took a trade to the upside and the setup was there. And I think that was when news came out about Trump reverting back. Something, I don't know. It was positive news, and all of a sudden, people on Twitter and Instagram was talking about positive news. But this was before like Wednesday afternoon. And anyway, I'm gonna get off this subject. I know some people like.
No,
Uh,
no. And I think, and actually, I mean, I wish I could even show the quote. I'll post it on my Instagram
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's literally what I said in our Discord. I said, news is only going to give you the velocity,
There you go.
but it's not going to give you the direction, and it's not going to give you the target.
Yep.
The charts do that.
Hmm.
And so even looking at, for us, we were looking at, we had a lot of gamma down at that 5100 area.
Hmm.
And even though I was like, that seems really far away, and we
Yep.
were looking like weeks
Weeks
and
away.
weeks and weeks
Yep.
out. So I
Yep.
was like, something is obviously brewing. And with
Yep.
everything going on with the politics, I was like, at any point we could get that snap to the bottom.
Hmm.
So let's just have a position down there that's kind of just benefiting from some time decay. And then when we actually make that price move down, that,
Yep.
position will kind of blossom for us. And thankfully we did, because those positions these last like week and a half have just
Hmm.
done phenomenally well. And people are like, oh, gamma. And I'm like, yes, gamma can give you positioning. It can give you a price target, but it's the chart that is going to tell you, are you looking at the chart and seeing that, okay, we could get like a double top here
Hmm.
because price is going to pull back into some kind of gap in the price or whatever, and it's going to give you likely some kind of double top and then drop you down to that level, or do you see
Yep.
that price is going to just chop around slowly down to those levels? Because once you understand how your chart is forming,
Hmm.
then you can choose, because yes, we use a lot of multi-leg option strategies, but just because I'm bearish on something doesn't mean that all of the bearish strategies are going to work.
Right.
I need to know, like, do I have a lot of time? Is this going to do some small bouncing until it moves the
Hmm.
$10? Or is it going to pop up, tap some kind of resistance area, and then just fall down to me? I have to calculate those things in order to put on a good position. And and so understanding the charts is really key. And it's funny because recently we've been doing a lot more charting because we realized that was kind of where a lot of new members would join, and they
Hmm.
wouldn't have any charting background. And so they couldn't understand they couldn't understand the call outs. So
Hmm.
now we've spent a lot more time on charting, and people are like, you're changing the way that you trade. And I'm like, I can't trade anything without understanding the charts.
Right.
And shout out to TradingView backtesting. That replay is,
It's awesome.
yeah, do not sleep on
Right.
that.
It is awesome. Yep. If people are interested in a more data-driven back testing platform, you can use FX Replay, and also you can collect your back testing data in TradeZilla as well. So this, in case people want like to go a little bit deeper. So
Yeah. And
yep.
something that's so there's in any group,
Mhm.
there's always like a few people that, like kind of pull ahead, and they really, you can see what they're doing. And
Oh yeah.
there's a gentleman in our group that is just such a proficient charter. And every time when people ask him, like, how did you get so good? He was like, 1,000 hours of back testing.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
1,000 hours of back testing. Because
Right.
price does the same thing over and over and over again. And if you can't, if you haven't seen it enough times, you won't be able to anticipate what the next likely move is. You
Right.
just have to brainwash, like it's almost like brainwashing yourself
Yep.
with practice and the back testing. So yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you on that. Um, so what normally you do on your weekends, you give your like market analysis for the week
Yeah.
or your
Yeah.
market thoughts. So what are
Mhm.
you thinking about this coming week, sir?
So we actually got our outlook at 5:30 EST. So I really haven't looked at much because why? Deputy coming back. so, so because now normally when we on like weekly outlook, they would tell you, even though it's just me, I would be on there for like an hour and 15 minutes still. But anyway, um I think we get some type of bounce. I can't tell you the level because I haven't gone through the charts. Yesterday was a pretty chill day for me. And then I was on daddy duty all morning today. But whenever we get off the live today, I'm gonna look at some stuff. But I was looking at Spy, Apple, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft. I was looking at those. A lot of stocks on the weekly time frame were in some type of demand zone. I do
Hmm.
like now. I don't trade this way anymore, but I do understand candlestick patterns.
Hmm.
Um, I did see across doji. I did see a bunch of dojis what could keyword could turn into a let's just say morning star or candlestick reversal pattern or whatever, right? So I
Hmm.
do think that we got that lower low, but
Hmm.
as you said earlier on the live, I think if we bounce off of this level, and again, I think Friday I was telling she's actually on the live. I do want to give her a shout out. Dory's awesome. I've been knowing Dory for about
Hmm.
4 5 years. She's a phenomenal trader. She helps a lot of people in our community. So thank you, Dory. But she had the level of 5,000 on SPX. I had the level of 501 to 500 on SPY. So we pretty much filled in that gap. And then I think we can get a bounce off of that. If you look at the way price came down, it was so fast, right? So you
Hmm.
left a lot of imbalances back to the upside. So again, I do think that we get some type of re- short-lived bounce, but I don't
Hmm.
think it's going to be the bounce just to say that now we're bullish all of a sudden. I do think again, from an extreme perspective, I do think SPY can get back to about 450 or 455, whatever that level was. Um, if we're going to continue with the madness, which I enjoyed. I know some people have very good, well, very strict um, rules when it comes to risk management. Just be okay because I know if you're trading supply and demand, especially if you're an intraday trader, um, some of your zones are going to be super big. Like me, I use the 15 second. I know everybody don't use the 15 second, but don't get impulsive to just hop in because you see something, right? You still have to practice risk management, but understand the market has been very volatile the past, well, shit, pretty much since Trump came in office, but for like the past couple of weeks. But anyway, to go back to your original question, I do think that we get some type of bounce this week. Um, I can come back on live at any time and give you a exact level, but I think we get a bounce, and then from there we do the Harlem Shake, and then come back and take out the low. And and again, that level again for me on SPY is about 450. If you are a chart person, you can go look at SPY, go to the weekly, go to the daily. You'll see what I'm talking about. Look to the left. History is your friend. Make sure you got your friend by the hand and all that good jazz. Um, and yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about. And if you
Yeah.
are a chart person, shout out to liquidity,
Yeah.
whoever
I,
she is in life.
yeah, I really like, I mean, the reality is when you zoom out to the weekly charts, those key, so one of the things we always say is that, like, if the origin of your
Move,
big up move
move. Oh
can't
yeah,
can put in new highs, then you
yeah,
have to come back and start testing the origin of that move. And
that's right.
so, with with all of the mega cap stocks, the origin of those up moves was really far away. And
Mm,
when we kept testing all of those demand zones going down, they
that's
they
right.
didn't hold, and none of them were putting in any kind of new structural highs, nothing. So I think now we're at a point where we've just come so far down into the correction that yes, we may get like a short-term bounce just to kind
Mm-hmm.
of adjust a little bit since I mean, like Apple has two major price gaps. That's
Oh
just
yeah, yep.
unreasonable. But I think that, you could see Apple quite easily back to the 170. And then at that point, you want to really start seeing some kind of digestion or bottoming action. But I think if it's going to eventually put in new highs, it has to go back to those lows that kind of
Mm-hmm.
set up that bullish structure. And I think it's the same for all of those mega caps. They were just running so hot for so long. Their weekly uptrends were like this, and the price is like way up here. It just eventually doesn't make any sense. The
Yep.
other thing is that, you know, young people cannot participate in this price. And yes, maybe people in their 50s and 60s and 70s that have had really illustrious careers as, I don't know, engineers, doctors, lawyers, whatever, had
Mm-hmm.
these great careers, they can and they can afford to buy Netflix at 1,000.
Yep.
That's fine, but they're a shrinking part of the society, and as they retire, it's their children or their grandchildren that are the ones that need to be able to
Hmm.
participate. And I'm sorry, you're not coming out of university and getting a $500,000 a year job. So
Hmm.
if you're going to be buying Tesla or Apple or you're going to be participating in any of those mega caps or semiconductors, they have to be at prices people can buy
Right.
into. And so the
Yep.
PE, those PE ratios have to come down, or otherwise you have no upside momentum. I mean, the fundamentals just don't work all the way up here. So even though people hate it and people like just despise this massive correction, it would have
Hmm.
been nice for people who don't actively trade. Um, I think so. Here's the big thing, right? I think that a lot of people's stress is actually politically related.
Hmm.
So if you don't know how to chart, plus you are a Democrat, this looks like something is happening to you.
Hmm.
It feels very specific. It feels very frustrating. I mean,
Yep.
even watching
Very personal. Yep.
Instagram or whatever, it's people feel like Donald Trump, you went out and you did this to me because I'm a Democrat. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, this isn't affecting anybody by race or gender or politics. This is literally affecting the entire society. So whatever my personal politics are, I can promise you it's not just happening to you because you're a Democrat. If
Right.
you don't know about charts and you're a Republican and you voted for him, you are reading all of the headlines as in, this is what's going to give me my
Hmm.
like second chance at a career, a second chance at life, a second chance at opportunity.
Oh yeah.
So either way, learn how to chart.
Learn how to
It will
chart.
reduce your stress
Yeah.
all around.
Just get on the bigger time frame, get on the weekly, get on the monthly, just learn how some type of strategy, support resistance, market structure, supply and demand. Just learn something basic that you can understand and it's gonna help you, decide when to, put in money or when to edge into whatever type of position that you're gonna go into. So and it's not hard. I mean it's not rocket science. It's just understand some candlesticks that's red or green and put some lines on the chart. And if price come back to this line, here's an opportunity. So I mean, it's I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's that easy, but it's not that hard. I I think that we get in our way a lot of times when it comes to making these decisions because our human makeup we have emotions and feelings and all this type of stuff, right? The market don't give a damn about your feelings, about your cousin, about your baby mama, or Uncle Earl down the street. You don't care about none of that, right? So if you just say, "Hey, make sound decisions," just know that everything is going to be okay, and educate yourself just to make decisions, and you're going to be fine. So.
Yeah, I think also one of the things is that, people will say things like, and I see this a lot on podcasts where people will be like, well, I'm playing the market. Now, they're like a CMT or a fundamentalist or they're trained in the CFA or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm surprised that they use such verbiage because it continues to reverberate this idea that trading is gambling. Trading can be gambling if you don't know what you're doing.
Correct.
But the charting patterns, some of the most conservative people do trading for a living. I mean, I just don't look at Warren Buffett and think this man is a gambler, or somebody like Wyckoff, or
Shout out to Wyckoff.
somebody like Elliott who
Yep.
created the Elliott
Yep.
wave,
Yep.
or any of these people. I mean, these are like legitimate
Yeah.
economists, trained fundamentalists. They have, like very serious education,
Mm-hmm.
and but they apply rules, they back test them, they
Yep.
find their edge, and then they apply it to the market. And that's when trading is no longer gambling
Right.
because you just have clear rules. And so like, you guys are using a lot of like looking for that the accumulation, inducement, the manipulation
Mm-hmm.
move, trying to catch you, looking for order blocks. That's not like specifically how I chart, but it does, I mean, it doesn't matter
Right. It's
because
not,
you have back tested
yeah.
enough to find how it
Right.
works and you're applying that to your discipline. And I think that, that's if I thought that my pension was based on gambling, I would have serious anxiety right now. I would be having a
Mm-hmm.
panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm like looking at the structure and I'm like, no, we clearly have a breakdown in the market structure. We're no longer in a bullish uptrend. You want to be looking for, downside moves. You need to be, looking for those pullbacks into some
Right.
supply areas so
Yep.
you can get more of a push down. But we don't have anything really on any charts telling us we have a base, we're changing the structure, we're changing the tone of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think anybody that's been watching the lives the last, month or 2 months, I mean, all of our calls have really been to the downside and they've worked. So hopefully people are listening
Mm-hmm.
because that should have signaled to people we're expecting, prices to come down to us. Now, not necessarily this fast, but
Right.
the velocity of these moves has been a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there are people in the chat. If you guys can ask any questions, you can ask questions in the chat, but you can also ask in that little question bubble that's all the way next to the comment section. Let us know what you guys are thinking. I know there are a bunch of your members here and they're
Yeah.
all chatting it up. So
Hey,
shout out
Chef
to you
Jack in the house.
guys.
That's the guy I was telling you about when you asked me about sector rotation. He he,
Hmm.
he is phenomenal. He's a certified CMT. He's a whole technician. I'm super proud of him and a lot of love and respect for that young brother. So, yeah.
Congratulations. Few people do that. Wait, do I have it here? Let's see if I can find it. Yep.
Uh oh.
So
What is that?
look, it's from
Oh, there you go.
2001.
Yep.
Corona took me a little bit off my trajectory, my
There you go.
plans, but I would love to one day be a CMT because yeah, I think anybody teaching, if you are teaching in this space, getting like some kind of series exam or
Hmm.
having your CMT license is really just a great step in the right direction.
Yeah.
I always find it a little bit funny when you see people who've been teaching for a really long time and
Hmm.
they don't have any ambition to like at least try for it, at least try to do the exams. I know it's a series of exams that takes a really long time, so you
Right.
kind of have to start the process. So congratulations, Jack, because that's like a year and a half process to do all the exams. It's not some small thing. So
Hmm.
good for you, sir.
Right. Can
Let
you
us
still
know
hear
if you
me?
guys have any questions. Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, nah, because man, Miss Suzanne, we done had tornado warnings and tornadoes all around us, and it's still going on. So the power just went out. So I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Oh, because I did see the lights flicker and I just thought it was a connection issue. Well, I hope you
Mm-mm.
guys are safe.
Yep.
For a total novice
That's all right.
to the market, what one technique would you suggest the person do to begin charting? That's a really good question. Thank you.
Uh, one technique, and let me know if I'm not coming through clear. One technique that I would use for charting is fi- for one, work on one strategy, and as it don't bounce around. Stay in that one strategy for at least 3 to 6 months. If you're looking for basics of charting, understand support and resistance, and then you will understand that market structure is pretty much the same thing. Because support and resistance lines, when people look at break and retest, it's pretty much the same thing as break a structure and change the character. So,
Hmm. Yep. So I would say something similar. I think starting with market structure, figuring out not like, whatever time frame you're charting on, getting your highs
hmm
and lows, but finding your protected highs and validated lows and your protected lows and validated highs. A lot of times when people are looking for, when price goes into a bit of a consolidation, or kind of this accumulation activity and it's moving sideways, people start to lose the directionality.
yep,
And then everything for them becomes a market structure change, a market structure change. But actually, you've not broken any validated lows. So you haven't, or you're not actually breaking any structure. And I think that even for me, even though I've been charting for a really long time, when I started saying, okay, you know what, Suzanne, you are being sloppy. You are including levels that do not exist on any time frame. You are just inventing them. And you're letting some of these consolidation areas end up with like 15, 16 different support and resistance, and that doesn't make any sense. So
Yep.
actually going back and really getting that fundamental basis. And we'll have people in the Discord, post their charts. And it does take time because people um, will include zones, like supply and demand zones on the
Mm-hmm.
way up or on the way down that aren't actually zones. And so they're looking for, they'll say, oh, we're changing structure, but it's like, wait a minute, we haven't taken out any low. So we're actually still bullish. We are
Right.
accumulating. And so we do know that price is weakening, but you can't say that your actual overall structure has changed. So I
Change.
think that
Yep.
was probably something that was a nice little rebuke from one of our members, like, your charts aren't looking the same. And the other thing that really helped me was getting your swing count on two different time frames.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you like trading on the 1 minute, also making sure your swing count works on a 5 minute chart. Or if you like to trade on a 4 hour chart, making sure the swing count makes sense on a 2 hour chart, because you can start to misinterpret your higher highs and higher lows
Mm-hmm.
quickly when they start to get tight together.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you can start to missee them. So that's probably something I would say, start working on that, because once you can get directionality and you know your market structure correctly, you will you'll be able to stay in your longs for longer and stay in your shorts for longer because the structure hasn't broken yet. So you're good to
Mm-hmm.
go. I know for
Yep.
futures you can't do that because you often can't have that overnight risk.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to like exit the trade and re-enter. But for those who are swing trading with shares or options contracts, that just gives you the opportunity to say, you know what, no, we're still like, we still have that, um, you know, mid time frame, higher time frame, bullish structure or bearish structure, and you stay in your trades longer.
Yep. No change,
Good
no friend.
advice. So somebody said, figure out your time horizon and objective first. That way you know which time frame to operate and execute. John Murphy is who I studied. Yes, John Murphy's book, Technical Analysis, brilliant. My dad's read it like 3 times. I think I've sent it to him by accident. I don't know how many times because I always think I haven't sent it to him. And he's like, I've read it now like 100 times today and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but great, that's great advice. Getting tripped up on internal areas still trips me up sometimes. See, so exactly. Those
Mm-hmm.
consolidation zones, they can, or when the zones start to get really tight together, they can start to be very confusing. And that's why, I like charting out my zones on two different time frames, because um, sometimes you have a zone that is appropriate for a lower time frame trading strategy, but not for a higher time frame, or vice versa. So you're like marking all the pumps, and it doesn't really make any
Mm-hmm.
sense. So
Mm, that makes sense. Yeah.
somebody said my time horizon is Jack said my time horizon is typically 3 to 9 months. I chart on the weekly and daily. So that makes sense. That's a good corresponding. What time frames do you chart on since you are an intraday trader?
And again, let me know if you can't hear me. So my middle time frame is the 15 minute. So I do top down. So I don't try to go past the 4 hour, maybe the daily when I'm starting off. But I like to be with the overall trend. From there, I'm gonna go from the daily of the 4 hour down to the 15 minute. Once I'm at the 15 minute, that's gonna be my guide for my intraday session. Now we'll use the 5 minute as well, because the 5 minute can show me a little more intricate detail that I'm not going to see on the 15 minute. But my execution time frame is going to be the 1 minute and sometimes the 15-second time frame. Um, Outside of that, I don't try to mix and match and all that type of stuff. But I will say, if you're a intraday trader you want your middle time frame to be the 15 minute because you want to go with that recent high or that recent low. And especially if you're a liquidity based trader or if you're going with that internal trend, that 15 minute and that 5 minute using it as a guide is gonna help you a lot. Everybody don't You don't have to execute on the 1 minute time frame. But if you understand price and if you want the better risk to reward, then that 1 minute is going to be your friend. But again, you don't have to. But for me, execution, the 15 second and the 1 minute, middle time frame is the 15 minute, and I do use the 4 hour pretty much. So,
Yep. I like that. For our trades that are zero DT or same day expiration, then we would be using, you would need to be looking at a lower time frame chart, more so
hmm
because of once you've executed, so we would get our high or our low target based on gamma. But once you're
hmm
in the trade, you do want your structure to still make sense. And the only way to see structure when you only have 4 or 5 hours in the day is to be looking at. So we like the 10 minute and the 5 minute seems to somehow be the Discord's favorite combo of, I don't know. I think maybe the 15-minute candle just takes too long
hmm
to print. So seeing the 5 and the
hmm
10 together
Yep.
is slow enough and fast enough at the same time. But then, of course, when
Yep.
we're doing our like wider trades, then yeah, we're not looking, we'll have our kind of master charts up on like a daily or a weekly so that, especially now that we're trying to see where could a durable bottom be found.
hmm
We want to be looking at like what is that key origin of that up move? Where is that sitting? How far away are we from it? And you're going to see that a lot more clearly on a weekly chart,
Yep.
but it's going to be huge on a weekly chart. So once you've seen it on the weekly chart, then you do need to come down to like a daily or a 4 hour chart so that you can find that supplier demand zone a little bit more precisely. Otherwise, your zone is like $50 wide and you
50.
don't want to
Yep.
be
Yep.
struggling inside of there.
Yep. I
So, are
understand.
you using any special indicators to identify strong gamma areas or just combing through options contracts? So, I do use a gamma um, like we use a service that you basically uses like the Bloomberg terminal so that we can get all the contracts from all the different brokerages, not just from TOS or whatever. But I teach everybody, look at that open interest. Once you've started to analyze open interest, especially if you look at the monthly options expiration, so that it's usually the third Friday of every month, that OPEX expiration usually has the largest cluster of open interest, and that will tell you where those open contracts are. Now, if you look at volume and you see that volume is increasing and the open interest is not increasing, then you know that people are closing up their contracts. And so that might indicate that either people are already starting to take profits into the up move or into the down move, or they don't believe that move is going to happen, so they're kind of losing conviction in that trade. But if you see the open interest increasing over time, then you know that people have a stronger conviction in that trade, or they're rolling up their contracts. So maybe let's say they're looking at Apple and maybe they're expecting a move down to the 180. Now that we're at like the 188, they may move it down to the 170 just to take some profits off the table, reduce their risk exposure. But if all of a sudden, like we closed on Friday and there were 300,000 contracts at 170, and we open Monday and there's 50,000 contracts, but I don't see those contracts move somewhere else to the downside, then I know people just took their profits and they left that trade altogether. And now I know that that squeeze is now going to lose its momentum because gamma is increased by the number of contracts that are on at that position, because it means that the broker is interacting with more contracts and will push the price to those levels faster. So when you know what your like 4 or 5 favorite underlyings are, you can just, keep kind of a note to yourself of where those open interest clusters are and how they're changing as the price of the underlying is changing. Hope that was clear and helpful.
That was awesome.
I love all the questions. Keep coming with your questions, guys. Keep coming with your questions.
Mm-hmm. I hate I lost power because now I can't see the chat.
Oh no. Well,
Yep.
I'll read out the questions as they come in. So,
Okay.
if you're getting trapped in internal areas, use a line chart. This will give you a clear idea of the true swings. That is very good advice. That's from God's kid. So thank you. That is very, very good advice. I'm just making sure that I haven't missed any of the questions. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
asking how is that if everything's okay where you're at, if you
Oh,
guys
it's
are doing
yeah.
okay.
No, I'm fine. It's actually weird. It stopped raining about an hour ago. It's not even windy. I have no idea why the power went out, and we experienced massive wind and raining for like 10 hours straight and all this other type of stuff. And the power was fine. All of a sudden, it stopped raining, and now the power go out. It makes zero sense to me. But no, I'm actually fine though. So I appreciate
That's
y'all.
good. Yeah. So I know that at 5:30 you guys start your regular top-down
Mhm.
analysis. So let me know if you have to hop off. That's totally fine. Um,
Well, ain't gonna be nothing I'm gonna be able
but
to do because I ain't got no power.
oh,
so
that's
so deputy gonna be
true.
on.
I didn't even think.
Yeah, yep. So
Oh,
deputy
well
gonna
then
be
good
on
that
her own. Yep.
deputy is back in the house to help you run it this evening. Um,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So, do you often trade RTY or the Russell
No, I
with
actually never traded the Russell. Um, I mainly so the only tickers that I primarily trade is MES, MNQ, and maybe gold. Outside of that, the last swing trade that I did was MU, and that was Q4 of last year. But I mainly trade MES and MNQ and maybe gold, but that's pretty much it.
right? Because yeah, the small caps are just getting crushed. And so
Mm-hmm.
normally, like in the when we're trading, we have a funny saying, and we got this from Draca. So she's not on the chat, but if anybody does, I want to give the shout out where it belongs. But she always used to say in the chat, um, IWM gives you the direction. It's usually like if you're going to be bullish, it's the first one to get bullish. If you're bearish, it's the first one to get bearish. If you want to know intensity, then you want to look at NQ because if it's,
Yep.
if it gives you those, it'll give you those powerful moves. And
Mm-hmm.
then ES will give you like an even keel kind of approach. But if you're trying to catch a reversal, IWM might like signal that for you before SPX will. It seems to work as a nice little indicator. Yeah, RTY is the same as IWM. IWM is the ETF for
Yep.
Russell.
Yep.
So good for pointing that out. But it is, I mean, it is just getting massively crushed, and it is. I mean, it took it forever. It was bouncing in this massive accumulation level for, I mean, more than a year. It was like yeah, for 2 years, it was just trading sideways. And then it started to break out at during 2024, started giving us some higher highs and higher lows. And then I think the thing is that people got super bullish on small caps because of Trump's presidency and gave it this massive push from like 223 all the way up to almost 250. And
Mm-hmm.
it just created this kind of weakness because you just had this massive price gap below. And it tried to fill the gap and then continue to go back, but it couldn't put in it just had those equal highs, the double top, and then
Mm-hmm.
since then it's failed. And one of the things that one of our members kept saying is equal highs will put in new lows, equal highs will put in new lows. And it's like the truth of that has just played out so clearly because if you look back, we're back inside that 2022 accumulation area, but we're actually really getting close to the bottom of that range. So for anybody that loves IWM, if you do get down to that 170 area, you might want to start, be looking at those really long-term trades. But I mean, it's amazing. The drop has just been so severe on IWM, even in comparison to the other, or the Russell in comparison to the other indexes, which held on a lot stronger because of the outperformance of tech. Um, but let's see. Keep the questions coming, guys. Would
Uh-oh.
would you have a new person start learning to trade options or futures first?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can
You
you still
said
hear me?
yeah, it's kind of going in and out. You said, well, the person said, would they trade futures or options first?
Mhm.
It depends on what their goal is or the objective. So, I started with options first, but that was because I didn't know much about futures. Somebody actually told me back in 2022 or 2023 that with the way that I trade, I would probably enjoy futures better than options. But again, it depends on what your goal or the objective is. For me, and also how much money that you're willing to come into the market with to start off. So like me, I started off doing SPY 0 days or next days. A lot of people can't stomach that. So I would say from a day trading perspective, I would get into futures because you don't have to worry about time. You don't have to worry about theta. And also from an execution perspective, it's a little more well, depends on what you deem as easy, but it's a little more easier to execute and to actually see what your stop is. Also, it's a little more easier to calculate what your loss is on futures as opposed to options because there's so many different variables. So, you can have that static, let's just say if you're trading ES or NQ or whatever the case may be, you can have your 3 point stop loss or your 5 point stop loss. And every time that you get stopped, you know what your loss is going to be plus commission fees. So I would say from
Mhm.
that perspective, if you're coming in from a day trading perspective, I would lean more so towards um futures. But if you're gonna swing trade, I would say do options because in futures you have to have a certain amount of money in your portfolio to even swing futures. Some people, what they'll do is they'll get out of their position once the market closes, and then once the Asia session opens at 6 p.m., then they'll re-enter into their position and just technically carry it overnight and so on and so on. But I would say if you're day trading, probably do futures a little bit more. If you're swing trading, do options.
Mhm.
Now the thing about swing trading options is, for some people that's real strict on having a stop loss based on a certain area on the chart. That's not gonna always work when it comes to swing trading. So you have to be okay with price. If you're bullish and price gaps up, then you're gonna be happy as hell. But if price gaps down past your predetermined stop loss, you're gonna have a bigger percentage loss. So that's the thing to think about when you're swing trading options. So,
Mhm.
yep.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I also think that there's something in the education about options. So when I see other people's courses on options, they they don't spend enough time on the charting. And actually, this is going to be something else that I was going to mention was, would you use a
Hmm.
prop firm? So I think that part of the thing that's baked in to if people want to use a prop firm because of the fact that you can't hold overnight with futures, these kinds of things, and the fact that like you on futures, you can just draw down indefinitely. So if you
Hmm.
don't know where you're going to, how you're going to manage your risk, you can make your stop losses so wide, you just get margin called very quickly. So
Hmm.
I think that there is a bigger emphasis in futures trading on learning to chart properly. And
Hmm.
then when people go over to options, a lot of times people will try to cheat the process with indicators.
Hmm.
And And though I don't have any problem, I talk about EMAs, I talk about volume profile, I talk about RSI, I talk about all of those things. But fundamentally, when you're on a naked chart, you should clearly see where your targets are. And I think that too often people go to options because it's very cheap leverage and
Mm-hmm.
they try to kind of fudge their entries and then hope everything comes out well. With futures, if you did that, you get royally screwed because you could actually be right on the direction, but you get chopped up in this like double tap, triple tap as it before it makes its actual move. And you can just be taking a lot of stops even, and then end up missing your big move because your entry wasn't really tight. And for some reason, good futures teachers, so not all futures teachers, because there's a lot of terrible futures teachers out there, but good futures teachers will focus on the price action because that's the only way you can set up your position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, I love options. So eventually, I've never traded futures,
Mm-hmm.
but I can see in the people that have traded futures in like, before they came to options, that they have a very clean charting capacity. And I think that that's really important and often a skill that options traders can neglect, and they can go directly to indicators too fast. And I think that's kind of cheating the system. Options should not be a cheat code for learning how to chart properly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I think that part of it, once you've learned to chart, then it becomes um, like a personal preference of how long you want to be in trades versus how much leverage you need, how
Yep.
much cash you have, things like that. So
Yeah, and,
I want
and and to add
I
on that,
want to
because
name a terrible teacher, but I'll keep it classy. Oh, Jesus. I think if
I
we were
already know who they
naming
talking
terrible
about, probably.
teachers, we could be here until
Yep.
tomorrow.
Um, but one thing I would add on that to make sure that people understand is like you said, if you're trading futures, please adhere or have some type of stop loss because you can literally blow your trading account just like that in futures. Like please, it. I know it sounds nice and you ain't gotta worry about data and all that type of stuff, but it's not like options. You know, a lot of people come in and they do options and they select the cash account, which you can only trade as much cash as you have, and then you have to wait until it settles to the very next day. But the thing about futures, like you can literally get in a position, get out, and be in and profit from their position, and the money that you just made is instantly available for you to trade. So I want people to understand that if you're going to trade futures, you need to have a predetermined stop loss on every single trade that you execute. Because if you do not have a stop loss and if you mismanage the trade and you don't obey your stop loss, it's going to be a terrible day, a terrible week, a terrible month, a terrible whatever, especially from an emotional perspective. Because I know you can go on the platform if you trade, if you do Ninja Trader or TraderVate or whatever you use, you can put your stop loss on the screen, right? But you can as easily move that line and say, "Oh, I think price may go a little bit lower, go a little bit higher." Please, if you're trading futures, please obey your stop loss because you can
Mhm.
instantly wipe your trading account just like that.
Yep. I think one of the things that, so we have a lot of people in the group actually trade both futures and options, which is what Jack mentioned that, he does trade both and each serve their own purpose. And I think that that's a really good way of looking at it. That you know, tr once you know how to chart properly, it you see them as like driving a stick shift or driving an automatic. Like once you know how to drive, at least if you know how to drive a stick shift, you can figure out how to drive an automatic quite quickly. It becomes a bit versatile at that point.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, I think that a lot of people um, they don't back test enough. So, we really encourage people, especially if they're going to be trading futures and if they trade on a lower time frame. So let's say that you trade on a 1 minute chart because trading very short term trades and you're using futures. We tell people, we suggest please have at least a couple hundred consistently profitable trades, because your trade setup on a 1 minute chart can show up like 50 times a day, unless you're only trading from like from the daily high and daily low. Then that
Hmm.
obviously is unlikely to show up 3, 4 times in the day. But if you're trading like intermediate highs and lows, your trade setup could show up multiple times throughout the day. And you
Hmm.
don't want to be trading so aggressively that you have a 50-50 win rate. You really want to make sure that you have a very high win rate, and that even if your trade shows up 15 times in the day, you really know how to manage your position so that you're not over trading. Because on those lower time frame charts, you can trade often. You don't want to be
Hmm.
trading so often that you're giving back your gains. So, I think that the the message is trading, what do you call it? Um, Having a very significant number of winning trades. Because also with back testing, you don't, if you only trade the New York session
Hmm.
or the first 3 hours of the trading day, you can get a lot of hours under your belt
Hmm.
because you can just move to that time slot instead of waiting each day for that time to show up and then trying to practice in your live account. That's dangerous.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts about prop firms? Because you trade futures, so
Hmm.
I respect your feelings about prop firms more than
Yeah.
maybe my
Um.
opinion.
So full transparency, I've never traded a prop firm. I've always traded my own money. I don't have anything against prop firms. I know they have a lot of rules and restrictions and trailing thresholds and all that other type of stuff. But I will say, I do know a lot of people that are profitable traders and they use prop firms. And I would say that, if you're not coming in with a certain amount that you want. Let's just say maybe you want 5,000, 10,000, whatever the case may be, right? Or maybe maybe you're new and you don't want to just blow that 5,000 or that 10,000. I would say go through a prop firm first, because I would rather you blow your eval account or your prop firm account and you pay $80 or $100 or whatever. That's gonna be the amount of money that you lose, right? And then also with that, I know people get aggravated with the rules that comes behind prop firm trading, but they got to realize that it's still a business, and you have to think about it in a different perspective.
Hmm.
Yes, they have rules, but in so many ways, they're teaching you rules on how to trade, right? Like how to manage risk. Now, some rules I don't agree with. When it comes to, you can be profitable. Say you're profit, like you're up $2,000, but you can't be like, your drawdown can't be X amount of $100 or whatever it is. Like I mean, of course, they want to protect, capital and protect profits. But at the end of the day, if you think about it a little bit differently, as far as the rules that they have in place for people that's going to use their prop firms, it's in so many ways teaching you how to be disciplined by saying, hey, you have to execute by these rules, because so many people come into the markets trading and they don't have rules and they don't have a trading plan. Like in ASA, we did a lot of exercises over the past 2 or 3 weeks where we talked about trading plans, where we went through a version of my trading plan. We did a scenario where I I made up three different people with three different lives, and they trade differently or whatever the case may be. And based on that criteria for that person, they had to come up with trading plans, which is basically trading rules, right? So it was really good to see, and very fun. And I say all that to say, that's what I do like about prop firms, because if you don't have a lot of capital, or the capital that you're going for to come into the market, you can try to get a 25K account, 50K account, 100K account, whatever the case may be. And then your money, your hard-earned money, technically outside of what you pay per month, is not going to be at risk. So, blow those accounts,
Hmm.
then blow, instead of blowing like a $5,000 account or $10,000 account, because, you can recoup from that easily, as opposed to saying, damn, I just lost $10,000. And then, like, what's crazy is, when you go through drawdown, because you are gonna go through drawdown. Every trader I don't care who it is, you're gonna experience a series of losses. Like you're gonna go through those losses, right? The thing about um prop firms, you can go back and just say, hey, let me pay for this eval pass and do all this. You know, everybody doesn't have luxury to say, let me refund my trading account with 3,000 or 5,000 or 7,000 and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So, in that light, I do like prop firms because it allows people to leverage a certain amount of money. And again, just because you have a 25K account or 30K account, it doesn't mean that you can trade with 50,000. It's saying that you can leverage maybe 2 or 3,000 of that to now, compound that over time and then get to your payouts. So for that, I do like prop firms, but again, full transparency, I personally never traded with a prop firm.
Yeah, I agree. So I've never traded with a prop firm, obviously, because as I mentioned, I've never traded futures.
Hmm.
I've only ever traded stocks and options.
Hmm.
But the trailing drawdown is one of the things that sometimes people say, you know what, when I go back and look at my experience trading, I would
Hmm.
have preferred to stay in my sim account longer and then traded in my own money once my win rate was high enough. And part of the reason is they said that the different rules, and sometimes the rules felt like they were changing over time.
Hmm.
So they never felt like they were trading their plan, that
Right.
they were kind of trying to adapt their plan to what the rules were. And so sometimes it was causing them to take extra trades that they didn't want to trade, or that they
Hmm.
were, or that when their trade would show up because of some other arbitrary rule, that they wouldn't take the A plus setup because it just because of the trades they had taken previously in the day or whatever it may have been. And so and then also that people will skip past the sim trading too soon because they know
Yep.
they can only lose the eval money. And so then they kind of build in some bad habits where it's like
Mm.
you could have just actually learned all of that in a sim account. You didn't need to pay somebody $100 for 6 months at
Right.
$100 or whatever a month to learn all of those things, because
Oh yeah.
at the end of the day, so I don't know. I mean, so I have a number. Okay, there are people in that trade. So the people that I think have had the most success, they have very, very, very clear rules,
Hmm.
and they have very strict parameters of
Hmm.
like, so if they're trading, let's say they're trading a supplier demand zone, when the price comes back to the 50%, they're just
Hmm.
taking it to the top of the zone and they're getting their $300. And then when the next trade comes up, so they have really tight entries, a really tight stop. They rinse and repeat that 3, 4 times in the day, and then they're done. They walk away and go. And those people get consistent payouts,
Yep.
they um, and they don't blow up their accounts because they're never doing really big positions.
Yep.
Now, the people who are trying to get real fancy and trying to catch like a 200-point move, they're every other month, it seems like they're buying 50,
50.
whatever the
Yep.
new deal is on Bullinox or Top Step or Apex or whatever, that they're going to get 10 of them because they're in a deal. And then they're constantly paying to like, get them to, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
I feel like you're doing a lot. I hear about your prop firm more than I should, just
Hmm.
because of the fact that like I don't know what you're doing in that account, because it
Right.
feels like you're doing the most and the most
Right.
random.
Yep.
And so I don't know. So I don't have a personal opinion for myself because I never use them. But like I said, I think that the people that have success, they have a type of personality
Yep.
that makes it work. And the people that don't have that type of personality, they need to stay in STEM longer and then move to a live account because they need the pressure of this is actually real money. So I don't do joking around business. I stick to my trading rules.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I think um I think well before I say this, so if anybody from ASA, because I can't my number's stuck. I don't know who's still here. If anybody from ASA is still here, can you reach out to Deputy and let her know that my power's out and I can't drop the Zoom? and she's responsible for the Zoom and all that good jazz. So if y'all please reach out to Deputy, tag her in the Discord, or send her a message and let her know to drop a Zoom link for the weekly outlook. Um, but
Jack's
yeah,
on here and J Powell's on here, so one of
okay,
y'all, please, thank you.
yeah. So the thing about like rules, right? I think every trader needs to have rules. And I'm real big on rules. Like when we did the trading plan exercise in the community, everybody should have a if then perspective. If this happens, then this. If
Hmm.
this happens, then that. So like you said, the 1 minute time frame. A lot of people can be intimidated by the 1 minute. And I get it. In one point in my trading career, I was like, I don't see how the hell people trade the 1 minute time frame. And then once you understand the movement or the intent of price, you can use the 1 minute to actually execute from a swing perspective. But of course you have to have rules. So, like for instance, like me, it's something that I've been back testing a lot ever since January, since I've been going more into inducement and liquidity perspectives, right? Like I want to see, like if I'm bullish, I want to see price sweep the lows. Maybe it's Asia lows or whatever the case may be. Then I want to see the opposing side be taken, and I want to see us mitigate back into that zone. Then once we mitigate into there and then push away from that zone, I want to see price break structure. Like these are steps that I want to
Hmm.
see. If that don't happen, then I don't have a trade. So by me
Hmm.
having rules in place, it tells me when I should execute based on the parameters and the actual data that I collected to tell me when to execute. Because it's like the gentleman that's in your community where everybody was like, "How did you get so good?" Well, it's because I did the same thing in my back testing environment 1,000 times. So once it's live, it's like I'm looking for step one, I'm looking for step two, I'm looking for step three, and step four and step five. By the time I get to step five, I don't have to hesitate. I just hit buy or sell because the data tells me now to buy and sell. And it's literally it.
Hmm.
And once people get to that perspective on their execution and don't hesitate, because what's crazy is the trades that we hesitate on be the winners, and the trades that we just hop in, those are the ones that we lose. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, if you just sit back and think about, okay, the ones that you hesitate on, and I know it's hard in the moment, just be real with yourself and say, damn, I'm hesitating, and I don't want the day to go on and the session close, and I hesitated twice, and they would have been winners.
Hmm.
And now here it is dinner time, and you trying to go to sleep, and you beating yourself up because you didn't take the trades, and then now here's the new trading session, and now you thinking about the previous day on what you did, and now you beating yourself up, but all you're doing is coming. You're 10-20% emotionally down coming into the trading session when all you gotta do is hit the button. And I know it's not easy, but you have to wean yourself into that. And once you realize that it's a step by step approach, and you work on your mental, and you work on being disciplined, and you be consistent with the output, that's the journey that everybody should be on to embrace to get what success looks like to them. So please get to that point where you have a trading plan and you have a system that tells you if this happens, then this. If this happens, then that. Because if that doesn't happen and it doesn't line out, then you don't have a trade. And guess what? It's fine because you don't have to trade every day and you don't have to take every single setup. Work
Hmm.
what works for you and live with the outcome. You're either going to lose or you're going to win or you're going to be break even. Or what should happen is it should be a small loss, a break even trade, a small win, or you hit your profit target. You want to get away from having those big red days. And what's going to
Hmm.
allow you to do that is to consistently backtest and see what works and implement your risk management. Put in your trading plan. That's what's going to save you in the long run. And like for me, until I realized that that's that's when I stopped blowing trading accounts. It was like, okay, I'm just taking this setup, or I'm trying to mix in so many strategies. Like everybody feel, well, I ain't gonna say everybody. A lot of people feel like, you know, oh, this is the next best thing, or I'm gonna learn this, and this is the best. No, it ain't the next best thing. The next best thing is you understanding that you got whatever it is inside of you to be successful. Outline a technical strategy, give it time, at least 3 to 6 months, and really devote time to it to see if it works and ask questions along the way. and maybe find a mentor or somebody that you can, lean on their shoulder or pull their coattail and ask questions. And
Mhm.
that's the crazy part. A lot of people grown in this space and they scared to ask questions. And I'm like, how are you scared? How are you scared to ask questions and you trying to make money?
Mhm.
It we
And,
we we we
and
not in
that's
grade school no more. Oh, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
and I think that's actually a good sign. So I was in a trading community. So after my husband's accident, I joined a trading community because I was a bit nervous of like, while grieving, going into like full-time trading. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, oh, why don't I, somebody encouraged me. They were like, well, why don't you join a trading community? And, at least you'll have other people, some camaraderie. You won't feel like you're doing it on your own. And that might give you the courage to really, go forward with your plan.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in the community, I will say that the teacher didn't like that people asked questions. And the
Wow.
reality is because the teacher didn't know how to trade.
Mm.
And so the teacher was constantly trying to gaslight the students to think it's because you're stupid that you didn't understand what I'm saying. And then,
Oh no.
I wouldn't interject because I thought, oh, maybe I just don't understand this teacher's trading style, and maybe it's a
Mm-hmm.
legitimate style. But then slowly as time went on, I started to realize, okay, this is a lot of like manipulating people, and I'm not really interested in participating in that.
Yep.
But so if your teacher doesn't like it when you ask questions, there could be an aspect of the fact that they feel
Mm-hmm.
threatened
Man, look.
because of the fact that they just don't have a good answer. And there are times where, I will put something on a chart and it doesn't come to be, or I will put up a chart and maybe I don't update the chart for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my lines will have been perfect for the first 2 weeks. And then the third and fourth week, the lines are all don't make sense anymore. But because I
Mm-hmm.
was, didn't think about, oh, you know what, let me go back and update my Tesla chart based on what price has done. But if somebody were to call me out on that, I would actually be really thankful because I'm like, I have so many things going on in the Discord that it's very easy to miss something. But for me to then gaslight the person as if the price didn't really do that and you don't know what you're doing, that's extremely unfair, and
Yep.
that's a really unhealthy way to work. So I agree. If you have a teacher that doesn't let you ask any questions, I would
Mm-hmm.
suggest you find a different teacher and make
Man.
sure that you are trading with somebody who's actually showing you their wins and their losses, because everybody wins, everybody loses. A broken clock can be right twice. You want to make
Yep.
sure that they're winning enough and making enough in their wins that they're
Mm-hmm.
profitable over time. And every teacher, even the best teachers, have seasons that they don't do well. Doesn't mean that
Yep.
they're a bad teacher. Listen, January and February for me were like not, they were fine, but they weren't like my top performing months. I wouldn't be like, oh, everybody, look at my January, February performance for like some kind of rewards. But, but we were getting through it together. And there are
Yeah.
other months that we do so massively well that people could be patient through it. If you're not seeing any of that kind of dynamicism from your educator,
Mm-hmm.
be very wary because there are so many charlatans out here. It's crazy. And sometimes it's the people that people love the most, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like this kind of cult situation going on. And then, you feel bad saying anything, so you just kind of leave people where they're at. But if you are in that kind of situation, please, there are lots of great educators out there. Find
Mm-hmm.
one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Been trying to
I've
learn the
seen.
break and retest strategy for my first strategy, but I hesitate sometimes because the last couple of weeks I did not feel confident. Still watching videos, but can you give advice on this strategy? So,
Yeah. So okay, from a beginner perspective, break and retest is pretty much for me a continuation model. So what you want to look for is what's the higher time frame trend, right? So let's just say, for instance, let's say you're bearish. Price has been bearish on the, let's just use SPY or MES or MEQ, whatever ticker that you trade. Just visualize price like for a second. If your higher time frame has been bearish, meaning you're making lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs, like draw it in the air. You making lower lows and lower highs. The retest of what you want to look for is they work best with continuations. So if price is going to, let's just say, make that lower high. Let's say you made the lower low, lower high, lower low. The retest is going to be at that previous area, which was support, but this support got broken. So previous support turns into resistance. Or if we trade supply and demand, previous demand turn into supply, right? They call them breaker blocks or whatever the case may be. The breaking retest works better when you're trading aligned with the overall trend. Now once you get a little more further in your trading journey, depending on the technical strategy that you use, like for me, I don't use break and retest. Well, excuse me, let me correct myself. I only use break and retest if it's going in the continuation leg. If price is in the reversal leg, I don't take break and retest because there's liquidity for me. So since I'm a liquidity based trader, I understand that okay, this is not my move. I need to wait for a mitigation to my zone. I'm gonna try to scale it back to the basics. I want price to realign on the lower time frame to give me the bearish intent to then give me the continuation lower. So now once price retests, let's just say the higher time frame leg, that's the retest that you should be trading with. I hope that made sense because I know like trading is visual and we on Instagram live talking, but I hope from a verbal perspective that made sense. And again, I can't see the chat, so yeah.
Yeah. So let us know if that makes sense. I agree. So we have a saying, no zone, no trade. And
Yep.
so the like you're saying that oftentimes people want to take the break and retest of of a reversal.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the first move is a false move. It's the fake out move. And usually we'll say if you're in, so normally like people will talk about, oh, whether you have like a inverse head and shoulders. So if you're looking at an inverse head and shoulders, you will have the first push down, then you will have the sweep. Then on the third attempt, you see that that next shoulder is up higher. So it taps back into the zone, but it doesn't break down too far into the zone. And then you have your strength. And in the impulse move, when it's bursting out, you want to see that pop happen with maybe some kind of imbalance or
Mm-hmm.
really strong momentum candles. Then you want to be able to get in, but you want to see green candles on the way up. If you start seeing red candles that are closing below the previous green candles, you may have come into the move like too soon.
Too
So one
soon.
of the
Yep.
things like previously we were talking about really learning to get your market structure because,
Mm-hmm.
as TC was saying, you get a move up, you get a pullback, and that pullback, um, then you get like the pullback, and then you get the bounce out. That gives you your kind of a zone. And when you come back into that zone, if you don't pull in too deep into that zone, you're going to get a continuation move. But you've already established the overall direction. And that's why it's so important to know what time frame you are charting on, because you can find nice continuation moves on a 1 minute chart. But when you look at a 15-minute chart, that's not actually anything. It's like one massive green candle, but it's
Mm-hmm.
fine because you are setting your stop and your profit target based on the chart that you are seeing, and you're being
Yep.
modest with your take profit. I think the bigger problem people make when they're using a break and retest structure or strategy is that they're often looking at like break of a trend line, retest
Mm-hmm.
of a trend line, and then they get faked out. And then when the actual move happens, then they miss it. And then they're trying to like catch the move out as it's running away from them.
Yep.
And so like part of that is already don't be looking for necessarily only the break and the retest, but look for the change in the structure, whether it's an inverse head and shoulders or a Quasimodo pattern or a strong like double bottom with a bit of a pullback that goes up, something like that. But you're already starting to see like a firm foundation in the reversal move where you're
Yep.
not trying to time the bottom of the double bottom. You're not trying to guess that's what's
Hmm.
showing up, because then that doesn't work. So yeah.
Yep. Shout out to you.
I mean,
You mentioned
so
time.
somebody said basically you're saying don't counter trend trade. I don't necessarily think not to counter trend trade if that's your style. Like some people like to trade that way, but know that that is what you are doing, right? So some people, that is how they, what do you call it? That is their process.
Hmm.
And if they're have a good win rate and their rules are based on that thesis, then that's totally fine. The problem you have is that you get these, it's kind of the same thesis where people buy stocks to trade, and then because the price does a whole bunch of nothing, suddenly they become an investor. If you think you are catching reversals, you believe you are not a counter trend trader. Your thesis is that you are trading the reversal of the trend into a new trend. So if you find yourself more often than not actually catching the counter trend move, then it means you're not doing something right. But if you know you're a counter trend trader, then, far be it for me to say don't do it. If you're making
Yeah.
money doing it,
Yeah.
congrats to you.
Yeah. Nah, you definitely have to have rules. Like this past week, as and I outlined and said, hey, this is a counter trend trade. Like the trade that I'm looking at, the trade that I'm outlining is a counter trend trade. So if you have rules and you understand market structure and you understand valid market structure points, you can trade that. But if you're bearish, you don't want to take certain movements outside of, if you took a inducement tap or whatever the case may be, you want to target into supply. You don't want to go beyond that, because if that supply took liquidity, and I'm trying not to get super technical, but if you tap back into their recent high or whatever, and you're counter trend trading, that may be only the extent of where you want to take that move. So again, you have to have rules in place to tell you when you can take certain setups and when you can't. And we have a we and we and in ASA we talk about phases. When you're looking at liquidity, you got phase one, phase two, phase three, and when you're looking at overall structure, you have phase A, phase B, phase C, and phase D. And it's like a playbook in a sense, kind of how like football players and teams, they got their playbook for their plays. It's a playbook that tells you these are the type of trades that you should be looking for, depending on which phase that you're in. So, yeah,
Oh, well, now I'm super excited. Now I want to learn about the phase A1, 2, 1, B1. I'm just kidding. The phases 1, 2, 3, and A, B, C, D. But I do know that, oh, I know that your power is out, but I know that the members who are on this live want to probably tap into the
yeah,
Zoom with
yep,
deputy, so we don't want to make them have to choose where they're
yep.
going to tap into.
There you go.
But for everyone that is in the Trade Speakeasy Discord, we are super excited. TC is going to come in and do Tuesday and Wednesday classes for us for the rest of April. And then in May and June, we are going to go through our next mentorship to teach you guys, again, the multi-leg option strategies. And we are actually going to be covering some new strategies that are truly focused on or more specific to these kinds of bearish trends. So for those of you who feel like, okay, you've been trading bullish so long that you don't know how to sell all this volatility in the market, or
Yep.
you don't know how to position yourself with the previous trades, that is going to be the purpose of this next flight of profits. So even if you've done the other flight of profits and you feel like, oh, we're just going to be rinsing and repeating the same thing, no, we will not. So you do need to come ready to learn again. And I do want to emphasize, like, we do think that just because we use gamma does not mean you can cheat your price action charting. You have to be able to look at your charts and chart well. And so in order to really encourage you guys and give you that extra kind of encouragement leading into the mentorship, we're going to have these 6 lessons with TC, and we're super like thankful and grateful that he's going to come in and do that, because I know that ASA is killing it, and that is because their charting skills are top quality. So we're glad that we'll get to glean from that wisdom. And I hope that those of you who have joined us today have felt that both TC is passionate about what he does, but also proficient in what he does. And so he will actually be giving us wisdoms instead of some kind of funny mumbo jumbo that doesn't help us move the needle forward in all of our trading, because that's not my style. I
Yep.
like to keep it classy.
Yep.
I don't want to have to cuss anybody out in the class,
That's all good.
teaching no funny business.
No, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna it's gonna be a good time. Come to learn, come to have a good time. We're going to talk about a lot of things. So just be prepared and be ready. I know from speaking with her, some of you may trade SMC or know, market structure and stuff like that. So it will be taught from a beginner perspective, but we will get down and get busy with it. And again, have a good time. Ask questions. No question is a dumb question. I go through anybody to tell you. You can ask me the same question 27 times, and I'm gonna give you 27 answers and make sure that you got it. So it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a extreme blessing. To work with her, because Suzanne is a real humble, amazing person in general. So when we had the conversation, I was like, hey, I'm all down for it, because I really enjoy teaching. I really enjoy helping people, and I want everybody to able to get this skill. Because if I can learn it, anybody can learn it. And I'm not just saying like but again, I'm just like y'all. I put my pants on, I put my shoes on. It's all that type of stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing it. If you are a SMC trader, or I know you said some people have taught it before, I'm cool with collaborating or whatever, but I do harp on work. Don't be lazy, please. I harp on work. As I tell you, I give a lot of tough love. If we give you homework and you ain't doing the homework, don't come to me crying, because I'm literally giving you the things that you need. So we're going to talk about market structure. We're going to talk about liquidity. We're going to talk about inducements. We're going to talk about sweep. We're going to time frames and all that good jazz, and how to utilize the 1 minute time frame to align with those longer base trades to get that good risk to reward for your trade. So it's gonna be a lot of good stuff.
I'm looking forward to it myself. I love learning from other people that are doing something well and doing it profitably. The fact that, your members just consistently speak so highly of you
Thank you.
and their success because of your work with them
Yep.
has given me a lot of confidence to have you come in and teach. And so I'm really excited. The classes are going to be Tuesdays and Wednesdays after market close, so from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. EST, so that our European-based members can also join in, so then it won't be too late for us. But then also it's not right during market hours while everybody is actively trading. So
Yep.
hope to see you guys, to see everybody there. Because I know that it's going to be great. For those who are working during those hours, I've had like 5 or 6 people message me, but I can't come, I'm working. No, I mean, for those who are, West Coast and, still during their working hours, the classes will be recorded and available for you guys to go back through.
Yep.
And so, yeah, for anybody that maybe English isn't the first language, or you're working during those hours, you'll be able to rewatch at your own pace to be able to get the information. So we thought about you guys. Don't worry, you won't be left out. Thank you
Nah, it's
so
gonna be
much,
good.
TC, for your time. And I hope you have a safe and restful evening in spite of everything that's going on with the weather.
Yes, ma'am.
And be safe. And for those of you who are out there, please follow both of us. TC has been posting a lot on his Instagram, trades that they're taking. And if you are new to all of this, then you may want to, take a look and see how he's trading, how he talks through his trades to get a feel for what the classes are going to look like. But be following both of us for any upcoming events. Hope to see you guys in the classes on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, and to see you in either of our Discords. Bye for now, friends.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Good night.
All right. Good night.